Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to How to Play episode 2, where we're actually going to learn to play my debut single that released last week. I'm going to show you how to play my own song. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start out with tuning, song structure, and the actual guitar parts. So in terms of tuning, this song was recorded on this Ibanez baritone acoustic guitar for the vast majority of it. So this is tuned to B standard, and I'll put the tuning up there. Now, granted, there's probably the majority of you don't have a baritone guitar who are into sort of acoustic pop music, I guess. Baritones are typically, or stereotypically, the realm of the modern kind of metal guitarist. But don't worry, because in terms of the tab and how I'm going to show you how to play it, you can be tuned to E standard, you can be tuned down a half step, you could be down to, as long as you're in a standard tuning, doesn't matter whether that's E standard, D sharp standard, which is down tuned half a step, D standard, which is down tuned a whole step. As long as you're in standard tuning, then the tab, you'll be able to follow the tab and play it fine, because it's all the same fret numbers, it's all the same positionings. It's just you'll be playing it in a different key to me, essentially. So for the purposes of the lesson, I'm going to be playing it as it's played on the record, so to speak. But as long as you're in standard tuning, doesn't matter where you put your cap or wherever you tune it to, just follow the tab and you will be fine. So there's 6 guitar parts in this song. 4 guitar parts are actually played on this. There's a 12-string over there. And then there's the Chapman ML1 baritone. That's also a baritone that's used for a lead part at the very end of the song as it's fading out. And depending on whether these speakers, whether you'll hear it or not, because I kept it low in the mix deliberately. But I will show you that part as well. So on this guitar, you've got the 4 main parts. You've got the harmonics part, which is what this entire song is built off of. That was the initial idea that ended up becoming this song. So you've got the harmonics part that I call it. That's part 1. Guitar 2 is the picking part that accompanies that throughout the entire song. So the harmonics part and the picking part are through the entire song. They never stop. They just keep going through the entire song underneath everything. It's the building. Those 2 are the building blocks of the entire song. Guitar 3 is a strummed part. Again, that's only in the little bit between the verse 1 and verse 2 and then the entire outro of the song. And then actually the dirty, overdriven rhythm part at the end of the song is actually played on this. It's not played on on an electric guitar at all. It's actually played on this very guitar. So it's an acoustic with a dirty, overdriven sound applied to it. So those are the 4 parts on this guitar. Then on the 12-string, it doesn't need to be a 12-string, but I like the sound and I've got a 12-string, so I've got a 12-string. The 12-string is actually down-tuned a whole step to D standard. And then that's just so I can utilize some different chord shapes, but play in the same actual chords. So it gives a little bit of body and fills out the sound by playing the same chords, but in a different shape. So that's guitar part 5 is the 12-string strumming parts. Sorry. Yeah. And then guitar 6 is the lead part on the Chapman ML1 baritone. That's at the very end of the song as the song's fading out. And it's a very simple lead part. So that's it. We've got 6 guitar parts. 4 are played on this. 1 is played on the 12 string. And then the lead part, which is guitar 6, is played on the Chapman. And so what we're going to do, I'll take you through each guitar part one at a time. So from guitars 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'll show you how to play each of those parts. And the tab I'm going to provide is a multi-part tab. So I'm not going to provide you separate tab for each of the 6 guitar parts. I'm going to provide you a multi-page. So you get all 6 guitar parts and the bass guitar actually per page. So you can see when each instrument is coming in for the entirety of the song. So if you do happen to have 6 guitarists and a bass player and you want to play it all at the same time, by all means. So what we're going to do now, we'll move on to guitar 1, which is the harmonics part. So let's do that now. Okay, so guitar 1, which is the harmonics guitar, as I call it, the harmonics guitar part, is 3 chords. Part 1, chord 1 actually, is this. That's chord 1. Then you move to chord 2, which is this. That repeats. And then you go to chord 3, which is this. And then that takes you back to chord 2. So that's the only positions you need to know. And that plays through the entire song. The 3rd chord shape is only used in the verses. It's not used anywhere else. So you only need to use that 3rd chord shape in the intro and the verses. And that's it. Everything else is just the first 2 chord shapes. So this is the way I play it. It's my first finger on the root note. And then I'm using my little finger on the harmonics. And this is for all 3 of the positions. And what I found when I was recording this is that when I'm using my first finger and 4th finger, my fingers are naturally curved away from the strings. If I try and use my 3rd finger to do the harmonics, my first finger has to come down for me to get there, and I end up damping the strings, and the harmonics always tended to get choked off, which I didn't want. So when I play with the 4th finger, my first finger is way more curved naturally, so I don't choke off unintentionally. And one of the chords is up here, and then you have to come straight back down to the 3rd fret. And when it's your 4th finger up there, it's quicker, it's more efficient to get to the 3rd fret. So that's guitar part 1. That runs throughout the entire song, all the way through. Guitar part 2 is the accompaniment to that, which is I call it the picking part. So let's do the picking part next. Okay, guitar part 2 is the picking part, as I call it. So the first chord shape is going to be to what you and I would traditionally know is a D shape. But because this is a baritone guitar, it's actually an A chord, but it's a D shape, just for ease of... I talk in shapes. So this is going to be a D shape, but we're going to play the sus2 variant then. So it's a D sus2 shape when playing on a standard guitar, but because this is a baritone guitar, it's actually an A sus2. So that's the first chord shape we're going to be doing. Then we're going to be playing a G major 7 chord shape. But obviously this is a baritone, so it's actually a D major 7. And then the last chord shape is actually going to be, it's technically an E minor with a E minor add 9. Because I'm adding the... But again, because this is a baritone, it's actually a B minor with the added 9. So those are the 3 chord shapes. The picking pattern is very straightforward. It's root, root note, and then you're just going up. And that's all there is. So that's the first chord shape. So that's the first chord shape, and this is the picking pattern with the tab on the screen. And then we move to the second chord shape. And then you go back to the first chord shape. Third chord shape, what I would advise is this finger is staying where it is. These 2 fingers, keep them where they are, just take them off the strings because you're going to go back to that chord shape after you've played this movement. So all you need to do is lift them off, keep them where they are, because then you can put them straight back down again. So that's a little handy shortcut for you. So after this one, going to go to the B minor add 9 shape, which is basically the bottom 3 strings open with your finger on the, well, these 2 are open, these 2 are open, this one's on the 2nd fret. So it's basically it's that E minor add 9, but without playing these additional notes. So again, after you've played that second chord movement, just take your fingers off and then you can play. Put your fingers back down. Lift them off. That's the intro. The intro is the only time you play that full chord. And all you're doing, you're playing the exact same shape. You're just playing a G chord, essentially. It's just a full G chord, but again, baritone, so it's actually a D. It's a D major. And then the verse, you just repeat that. That's the verse. That's an entire verse movement. The chorus and the rest of the song is just moving between the first chord shape and the second chord shape. That's the pick-in guitar. That's guitar 2. That's the pick-in part. Now we're going to move on to part 3, which, checks notes, is the strumming guitar part. Again, played on the baritone acoustic. So let's do guitar part 3 now. Okay, guitar 3 is what I call the strummed part. So this is the strummed part essentially, and I'm going to talk in terms of what we all know as guitar chord shapes. The chorus is literally a D major shape. On my baritone guitar, it's technically an A chord, but in terms of shapes, we all know it's a D major shape, and then it's a G major shape. On my guitar, that's actually a D major in terms of the song, but shapes we all know it's a D major to a G major. So that's the choruses. During the verses, it's following the exact same structure as the harmonics part and the picking part I've just showed you. So it's that D major shape, the G major shape, which it repeats, and then it goes to the third chord shape, which in this case is an E minor chord shape. Again, on my guitar, that's a B minor, but in terms of just teaching you the song, it's that E minor chord shape. And then this is the strumming pattern, basically, for the entire song. Repeat, and that's it. I mean, that is literally all there is to the strummed part of the song. It is just as simple as that. That's it. On to the next part. Okay, guitar 4 is the overdriven guitar sound that basically takes out the entire outro and sort of stadium sing-along type of outro to the entire song. And it was actually played on this guitar. It wasn't an electric guitar. So, and the reason I'm going to play it acoustically is so you can actually hear it rather than the distortion. But it's just a bog standard power chord on the 5, 7, 7 with the root on the 5th string. 5th string, 5th fret, so it's a bog standard power chord. And then you're going to move up to the 10th fret. And then you're playing just the octave. So you're playing the root on the 5th string and the 5th fret. And then you're playing the octave on the 4th string, 7th fret. And then you're muting that string in between with your first finger. So you're only hitting the octave, and then that's it. So it's and that's it. You just keep repeating that over and over while the song fades out. And that's it. That's the overdriven guitar part of this song. Let's move on to the 6th and final guitar part, which is actually the electric, which is the little lead harmony bit as the song's fading out. Well, let's do that next. Okay. Guitar 6, and I realise in the editing that I've missed the 12 string, so I'll come back to that. But guitar 6 is only played in the outro during the fade out, and it's the only part on the song that's actually played with an electric. So it's played on this Chapman ML1 baritone. So again, it's B standard tuning. and it's a very straightforward little melody line. The key to this is, as tempted as you may be, do not put any vibrato on any of these notes, except the last one, which I'll demonstrate for you now. But you want to avoid any vibrato because it actually interferes and sounds a little bit dissonant. It causes like an almost phase-in sound when I tried recording it, because I was trying to be a little bit, leady with it, and it's not a lead line, it's a harmony line. So it just needs to sit in with the rest of the rhythm, essentially, and the vocals more than anything, because it's a harmony to the vocal, the woes. So I'll play it and then we'll just go through it. But it starts on the 7th fret on what would be your standard tuned guitar, on your G string, on the third string. But on my guitar, that is not a G string. That is my D string. Yes, my D string. But on your guitar, if you're using a standard electric guitar, that would be your G string. So it's the 7th fret, that's where it starts. So it's going to be, it basically sounds like this. That's the only note I put a little bit of vibrato on. All the rest, just play them straight, because it does, you want it to sit with the vocals. This isn't a lead guitar part where you're trying to put all the sort of, vibrato and emotion into it. It's got to sing with the vocals because it's a counter melody to the vocal melody. So you want to play it as flat. So it's 7th fret on what would be your G string. On mine, it's my D string. 7th fret on what would be your D string and is my A string. So it's, and then 9, 7, 5. So I'll play it clean, and then I'll add some distortion by some plugins to give you the album kind of sound. And that's it. That's all there is to that part. And like I said, it only plays out, I think, after the chorus has gone round, I think 4 times at the end. One guitar part left, and that's actually the 12 string. But my 12 string is tuned to Dadgad, and I don't want to change it. So I've got, my Gibson is tuned down a whole step to D standard, and we're going to use that instead. So let's do guitar part 5, which is actually the 12 string part, which is also strummed. Okay, the guitar part 5, sorry, this is out of order because I forgot it, but guitar part 5 is the 12 string. The 12 string only comes in the mini chorus in between the 2nd and the 3rd verse. And then for the entirety of the outro of the song, or the verse sing-along bit at the end to fade, is where the 12 string lives. And it's the same strummed pattern, the same strummed strumming pattern as the other strummed guitar part 3, but the tuning is different. So the 12 string was tuned to D standard. I always tune my 12 string down a whole step because it's just so much easier to play. A 12 string in E standard is just cheese wire and is horrible. So my 12 string is always tuned to either D standard or Dadgad, and is primarily in Dadgad for 90% of its life. So this Gibson is tuned to D standard. So I'm going to play the guitar part, the 12 string part on this, just because this guitar is always tuned to D standard as well. And the chords we're going to play, I am going to refer to standard tuning chord shapes if you tune to E standard, but you would play a B major shape. But in my case, this is an A major shape because I'm down tuned a whole step. So we're going to play a B major shape, but it's actually an A major chord. And then we're going to play a E major shape, but for me this is a D major chord. So these shapes A and D mirror. I'm just playing them in different positions essentially, so I get a fuller, richer sound because I'm playing the same chords but in different shapes and tunings. But again, it's the same strumming pattern as guitar 3 on the baritone guitar, and it's just going between that shape, those two guitar shapes, those two chord shapes, and it's just basically this. And that's it. That's it. Just repeat that over and over again. And that's the 12-string guitar part. I mean, you don't need to use a 12-string. You can use a 6-string tuned to D standard. If you want to play this in standard tuning, which is E standard, you are going to want to put... Bear with me. I'm going to pause this. And I am going to do an E standard tuning alternative for this for you. 2 seconds. Okay, if you want to play the 12-string part and play the entire song in E standard, and you want to play the 12-string part, then all you have to do is put a capo on the 5th fret, and then you're going to play an E major shape, which now the capo is on the 5th fret. It now becomes an A, major. And then the second chord is going to be an A major shape, which now becomes a D major. And that's the 12-string part. Because the 12-string part is only played in the mini chorus between the second and the third verse, and then the entire outro of the song is literally A and D. And that's it. So then this is what it sounds like. And then you just keep repeating that. So that's how to play the 12-string part on E standard tuned. So if you want to play the entire song in E standard, this is how you play the 12-string part. Capo on the 5th, and then you want to play an E major shape and an A major shape. And that's it. Let's move on to the next bit. Okay, the bass guitar is very straightforward. It's a simple song. There's nothing complicated about this song. It's played on a 5-string. You don't need a 5-string for this because I never use the 5th string. But it all centers around the 5th fret. So this is actually tuned normally. So B, E, A, D, G. There's nothing weird about the tuning on this. It's just bog standard bass guitar tuning. It all centers around the E string on the 5th fret, and there's only 6 notes essentially. So it's just on the E string 4, 5, 7, and then the A string 4, 5, and 7, but all come into home on the A note. So what I'll do is I will play the verse pattern. The verse pattern changes during this song. Verses 1 and 2 are the simple verse pattern, and then verse 3 adds some additional notes to build up to get us into the outro of the song, essentially. And then there's a little fill that happens that coincides with the guitar, the overdriven guitar part, where we play the octave notes. The bass guitar part kind of mirrors that. So I'll play a verse pattern now, and then I'll show you the alternative verse pattern and the guitar, the bass fill, essentially. So this is the verse. Back to the beginning. Okay, so that's a verse pattern. At the end of the mini chorus, after the second verse, to lead us into the third verse, there's a little bass fill, essentially, and that bass fill repeats then in the overdriven outro to the song, So it goes, so the bass fill is, and that's it. So it's, if you follow the tab, you're playing the 5th fret on the A string and the 7th fret on the G string, and you're just moving up 2 frets to, so the root notes is going to be 5, 7, 9, 11. And when you play it after the verse, it would be and then back into the verse. Like that, basically. So that's the bass fill. It's very straightforward. And then back. So the verse changes in the third verse. The third verse adds a couple of extra notes as almost fills, essentially, to just build the momentum a little bit more in the third verse. So what I'll do now is I'll play the third verse and show how where those extra notes are. Again, it's all in the tab, but just so you can hear it in isolation, essentially. That's it. So you can see there I've added some extra notes in, basically to start building up the bass movement, essentially, to bring the third verse up a notch before we go into the overdriven. The bass continues those extra notes then in the overdriven section, and includes then that coincide with the guitar fill that's playing that octave. And that's pretty much like follow the bass. I don't think I need to cover anything else really, because this bass line is beginner level. There's nothing complicated about this at all. Follow the tab and you will be absolutely fine. Just remember that all the notes are played staccato, so you're not letting any notes ring out. It's all very... Everything is played staccato. So you want that pump, you want that on the bass. And that's really it, really. So we'll go to the end now and I will say my goodbyes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that has been useful. I am not a guitar teacher. I have never done, other than the Adele one that I did a while back. This is only the second time I've even attempted a guitar tutorial. So I can imagine that it's not as professional maybe as all the big guitar tutorial kind of guys and girls that are on YouTube. I'm just someone trying to show you how to play my songs, because I think that's really important, that musicians should show you how they played their songs and not leave it up to some third party person transcribing a song for like ultimateguitar.com. I think it's always much better for it to come from the artist directly. Please let me know what you think. If anything was unclear, if the tab is unclear in any way, the tab will be available in the description for download for free. So yes, and don't forget the song was recorded on a baritone guitar in B standard, but as long as you're in standard tuning, so E standard, D standard, whatever, as long as it's in the standard tuning and then you tune each string down the same amount, the tab will play exactly the same. You don't have to worry about what tuning you're in. If you're in E standard, just play the song as is. You will just have to sing it in a much higher register than mine. But yes, please let me know if anything was unclear. I can always do a follow-up video to clarify anything that maybe I didn't get across, as well as the more professional people on YouTube who do this for a living. I hope you found it useful and instructional, and it got you a better understanding of my song, essentially. So thank you very much for watching if you're still here. My next single is due out on March the 1st. It's the second single from the debut album. I hope you come along, because I'll be doing like a live thing again with the lyrics video. So please come along for that. The link to this song is in the description. I'll put links to the YouTube lyrics video, Spotify and Bandcamp. And if you like supporting independent artists directly, then please consider supporting me on Bandcamp, because I get so much more of the revenue from a Bandcamp sale. So the single's on there for 99 pence. 99 cents if you're in the US or anywhere that uses dollars and cents. But the song is available for 99 British pence, or 0.99 pounds, which is a bargain. But I get so much more of that than I would from Spotify. I mean, by all means, support me, buy it on Bandcamp, and then stream it on your favorite streaming platform of choice. But it does help a lot if you support me directly on Bandcamp, because I get so much more of the money back. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was useful and enjoyable. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Thanks very much.